Dragon's Prophet is a free-to-play MMO, developed by RuneWalk Entertainment and published by Sony and Infernum. One of the big appeals of Dragon's Prophet is this whole Pokemon-esque style way of capturing and collecting dragons. Now, any player can capture and tame dragons that aren't corrupted in the world, and my god, there's a lot of dragons to capture. Each one is boasted to have completely different stats, different combat styles depending on the type of dragon. Some can even fly and some can swim. So yeah, they boast a very big variety of dragons that are actually available to be used. One of the big bugbears for me was the fact that the skybox is so limiting. I actually found it sort of depressing when I was trying to fly up to a cliff only to realise that there's an invisible wall preventing me from getting up there. That really does sort of put a downer on the game because I like flying around and stuff like that and exploring the world. The actual player combat itself is pretty visceral and it flows very well. The actual spell effects themselves are pretty well done. They could use tightening up in some areas. I have accidentally hit people and the spell effect has just been nowhere near them and things like that. But overall the spell quality effects are actually really nice. I also want to touch on the environment. The environment itself looks very, very stunning. You can tell they put a lot of effort into making the world feel absolutely realised and realistic to some extent. NPC camps do look old and worn and lived in, and it really helps add to the character of the story that the game is trying to tell. I actually haven't tested the player housing, but the fact that it's a feature is very cool. Your ability to fight over islands in the sky in a PvP battle, but it's also got your own property on it. That's really, really cool. I like that idea and I would love to see them expand upon that. It's something similar to what Trion Worlds have done with Rift, and I think it was probably in Ultima Online as well, if I remember correctly. However, you never had the ability to fight over your land, so it's actually a really nice twist they've done on that. In terms of the whole free-to-play model, they've balanced it fairly well for the most part. You do have to realise the fact that Dragon's Prophet is published by two different companies. If you're in the US or North America or whatever you call it, you are going to be dealing with Sony. If you're in Europe, you're going to be dealing with Infernum. I'm not sure what it's like for all the other places, so yeah, but I definitely know Europe and Infernum and Sony do the whole Europe-America thing. They actually have different currencies altogether. You actually download a different game client completely. So yes, be sure to obviously check that out. In terms of how the things are actually priced, everything is pretty well priced. You can actually pretty much do everything in the game and experience what the game has to offer without paying anything. Although, I imagine if you are going to play the game from start to finish, come on, support the developer and the publisher on this one, because at the end of the day, you know, you are using their service, you are constantly connecting to their servers. A lot of stuff that you can get charged for are things like if you want to mass craft in a big way, or you want to train your dragon, you can actually add new skills and things like that to your dragon to increase their proficiencies. All of that, if you want to do that for a very long extended period of time, say 24 hours, you are going to have to pay premium cash for that. However, you can actually train in small doses, and that doesn't cost anything, so it's always nice to have that in the game. In terms of the whole dungeons and things like that and end content, I never got to get to the end content because there was a character wipe at the end of closed beta, so unfortunately all my characters got wiped. However, I have tried the dungeons I've tried quite a few different dungeons, and it's really nice that they actually have an option to do it single player. So that's one of the really big hates I had with other MMOs, is the fact you couldn't do the dungeon experience unless you had other players. They've totally got rid of this. They've basically said, right, you can do it in a group or you can do it in single mode. Excuse me. And it's really nice that they've actually got that in there for players to be able to do, because not everyone likes playing with a group, and some people just like doing their own thing. So yeah, that's really very much appreciated. In terms of item variety and spell variety, there's a certain variety of spells. They mix it with a whole combo system, so you can actually, if you do a different sequence of spells, you can do more damage or get different effects or things like that. It's a really cool combat system they've got. I imagine it would lend itself very well to player versus player because of this whole getting up combos against the enemy and things like that. In terms of the actual gear and things, they've done a really good job of actually offering a pretty good variety of things, as well as a variety of stats. It's very easy when you're designing an MMO to get sort of sidetracked and completely forget about the whole, the core values of the game, i.e. the stats. Without the gear you can't pretty much do anything. So yeah, it's nice that they put a decent effort into making the gear varied and having a pretty good balance of stats overall. I haven't noticed any one piece of gear that's been particularly overpowered. Overall, I gave Dragon's Prophet a 7.7 out of 10. The skybox really does need to be higher, and it's sort of put me off playing the game further until they maybe do improve that. Also, some of the flying dragons are basically recolors, and it would be really nice to get some new models or some new abilities.